We're live. It's February 13, 2022. It's GetSmartDigital.com. My name is Mel Taylor. Yeah, that guy. That guy. I thought we escaped him a long time ago. No, just kidding. The interwebs, you know, it allows me to be my own broadcaster, as the awesome Gordon Burrell would always say. The deer now have guns or rifles or something like that. He said something very intuitive back in the day. But yeah, we're focusing on hyper-local news and strategy. We've been doing it for quite a while. Gordon Burrell being one of the guys I followed for a long, long time. But I thought that the one thing that's not happening, first off, we all want to make sure we go to these conferences live. We, meet people face to face. Gordon has a great event coming up very soon, or maybe something Mike Blinder from editor and publisher, maybe something, he's working on. But what about for those that can't travel or don't have the budget? Let me just bring my mic down here. I'm still experimenting with what can I drink when I'm doing these webcasts or these podcasts, because you get that frog in the throat. Now, we're still testing things out here. My lighting, I'm going to upgrade the webcam. I'm still using a Logitech, kind of a couple of year old Logitech. I did upgrade my mixer, the Rodecaster Pro, which is pretty awesome. And got a new keyboard, which is helpful. But I'm going to have to get some better lighting. I don't want you to be able to see my pores. Or I don't want you to have too much detail as to whether I'm dyeing my hair or I'm getting hair plugs. That's the thing about the interwebs. Anyway, so what am I doing today? Why do I have the Press of Atlantic City, the homepage, up on the screen here? So it's GetSmartDigital.com. Follow us, subscribe to us. We're going to get better at dealing with all these webcasts. But we really thought, I watch a lot of podcasts and webcasts where I learn things, and I listen and I follow along, trying to teach myself to progress and get better at this interweb thing. It's not going away, obviously. But is anybody doing a community-based interactive webcast, maybe on a weekly basis, talking about stuff of great importance? Is anybody doing that? I mean, we know it happens at these conferences. But is anybody doing a interactive thing, anything goes, webcast using YouTube, Facebook Live? A lot of new tools out there, and I'm experimenting with a good bit of them. I go down a dark rabbit hole. But this is another example of what I want to do, focusing on hyperlocal news and strategy. Because not only does traditional media desperately need to understand the options in front of them, but the independent folks like myself, or those who are downsized, or who were given the boot, maybe they want to stay in the journalism game, the online journalism game. And I figured maybe I can help in that regard. Teach people about WordPress a little bit, what plugins to use, how to do a podcast, make it sound pretty good, how to pick a topic, how to make it search engine optimized. And on occasion, I'll do a review of what their media property looks like online, like a secret shopper kind of thing. Because just a few days ago, on Thursday, I think, the Press of Atlantic City rolled out a brand new redesign for their website, pressofatlanticcity.com. Press of Atlantic City is a part of that company called Lee Enterprises. I think Warren Buffett still has a little piece of that action. Maybe he holds debt or something like that. Remember? Berkshire Hathaway pretty much had all these newspapers, but got rid of them. I think Warren goes, what's going on here? Matter of fact, a couple of days ago, the Press of Atlantic City, the old Press of Atlantic City building got sold. I'm not sure where they are now. I can't figure that one out. This is the kind of stuff I want to do on the hyper-local news and strategy webcast, podcast with GetSmartDigital.com. So what would I do? So they did a redesign. I don't think they needed a redesign, although I do like the black background. And it's much more visually punchy. but it's done by Town News, the leader in this space of content management systems, CMSs. You can go back to the bottom of the page here and see it's the Blocks content management system from Town News. If I'm not mistaken, I think the underlying structure, the bones, is WordPress, and then they tweak it, they fork it, they customize it. I might be close. Smart move. I think WordPress is powering about 45% of the internet right now. That's right. Crazy, huh? I know some of our old colleague friends, when they were starting their hyperlocal news blog, they decided to go down a different path, an anti-WordPress path. And I made my decision with WordPress saying I need something that has a large community. And it's going to keep growing. Thank God I picked WordPress. Thank God. Anyway, let's get back to the Press of Atlantic City. People love when I do reviews. There's no holds barred. I mean, I couldn't really do this on stage at a big national conference. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but sometimes you just got to be honest and upfront. So what's the first thing I see here on the front page of the pressofAtlanticCity.com? Let me turn on my little pointer. So when I start pointing around, you're going to be able to find it. Where the hell is it? Here it goes. It's going to open up in a second. It's going to be a yellow circle. Where is it? There we go. Do you see that? Is it showing up? Maybe it's not. You know what? I don't think it's showing up because the way I have my streaming feed set up, it's only capturing the tab or the window. It's not capturing the yellow circle, which I try to use as a pointer. Anyway, if you see at the top of the page, filling marble and tile retail outlet. I love the unit. It's like a push down or a big giant hero across the top. I'm not sure what they're calling it. But I can tell you, I love doing redesign projects. What's one of the first things I would do? Well, I'd probably put the address. Hey, where is this place? Is it somewhere in Jersey? Pretty much where the people that read the Press of Atlantic City live? Or is it in Idaho or Arizona? You might want to just let people know it's somebody relatively close by. It creates a sense of trust. And even though we want the click-through, as you can see here in the lower left-hand side, click here to visit us online. This is where I jump in and say, do you need the exclamation point? Click here to visit us online. All I want you to do is clear away the nonsense. Get rid of the exclamation point. And visit us online. You don't need that. How about click for more info? Learn more. Simplify. 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 It's a great unit, but the design it looks like it's not done yet. But I would definitely put the address. You don't have to put the zip code. Don't do the zip code. If you do, you'll have hell to pay. I put the phone number there too. Some people just want, or click to call. That tool exists. Click, and all of a sudden your dialer shows up on your smartphone. That's what you do. Pretty powerful. So get that fixed, and I'll circle back with you and see if you've accomplished that. Because Lee Enterprises, your parent company, they want to look down and say, hey, Press of Atlantic City has their act together. I used to work there for a little bit, Press of Atlantic City. I was a consultant. We were getting a lot of local businesses to understand the web and to, buy the web along with print and newspaper. Smart move. Anyway, let's keep going here. Let's scroll down here. As you can see, imagery, big, bold photos are prominent now on the site. And as a sales guy, and a marketing guy and a design guy. Matter of fact, in this day and age, you got to do everything. But as I scroll down in the middle of the page, as I scroll down, I'm looking at an ad. It says StreamYard Broadcast Studio. This is the homepage of the Press of Atlantic City. It should be the easiest thing to sell because it kind of connects with the old school way of selling the web or selling newspapers. You're going to be on the front page or the section front, right? Or when you buy a magazine, you always want the back page or the inside front page, whatever. Why aren't we applying the same thought process to the web? Nah, we can't do that. God forbid. Anyway, it says StreamYard Broadcast Studio. I'm not sure of the size, but it looks like one of those 728 by 90s or whatever. It's shaped that way. It's kind of a elongated rectangle. And it's a ad agency. It's a third-party agency filling that void for an ad. That's not good. That's not good. Not good. It should be the easiest thing to sell, your front page. Do not let third parties gain access to this. What are you, a big dummy? Local businesses are going to say, you know what? I'm not going to take the call from the Press of Atlantic City seller. I'll just buy their inventory via the third party agency. And I'll get on your site. Cheaper, more data, whatever. Do I really need a human being to purchase that? No, you don't. Yeah, that's why I love the web. I could talk about stuff that probably I wouldn't talk about. Maybe I would. Yeah, I used to do a lot of speaking engagements all around the country. I do miss that a lot. It was great working with everybody, seeing people face to face. And a lot of it was tough love, 10 years ago when we were doing it. Tough love, saying stuff that's very uncomfortable to a publisher or an editor. And I worked with not only newspapers, but also TV and radio stations, helping them try to adopt, leverage, and take advantage of the new digital tools at their fingertips. And a variety of results and experiences. Everything from New York City. I was working with folks in New York City, Chicago, Long Island, Florida. It was quite an eye-opener. In Philadelphia. We'll get into that. Anyway, but I'm very disappointed to see that that's a third-party ad unit. Third-party agency taking over a prime spot, the front page of the Press of Atlantic City. You got to fix this because our good friends at Alden Global Capital, they might frown upon something like this because all they really want to do is find a proper business model. What's that sweet spot to make money in order to protect and serve journalism? Yeah, they always position Alden Global Capital as the bad guy. They're just trying to figure out how to stay alive. How to stay alive. That's what they care about. Anywho, think of those three words, Alden Global Capital. If you're in charge of sales or chief revenue, blah, 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 just, think of that day, a couple months from now, maybe 6 months from now, when somebody calls you into the office, a guy from Alden Global Capital, he sits your ass down and he says, so why is there a StreamYard Broadcast Studio ad on the front page of the Press of Atlantic City? Yeah. Yeah. Gotta love the internet, Alden Global Capital. Private equity firms are coming in and they're buying up distressed properties. Newspapers are distressed properties. Newspapers are in a great position to retain the authority they've controlled for 100 years. But they need somebody else to drive that bus. Yeah. Let me scroll down here. How about podcasting and webcasting? Have they cracked that yet? I know that the Press of Atlantic City tried to do a webcast video, but quite frankly, and I'll dig up some video of it next time. And keep in mind, why am I picking on the Press of Atlantic City? Because I live close by, and they're good people. I know it was a great newspaper, but it's now some challenges in regards to focusing a little too much on national issues, social issues. A little too much focus there. Not enough on where all the action is. One of the benefits of being laid off and fired and quitting traditional media jobs, whether it's TV, radio, or newspaper, is I was forced to go into the internet world like Google and go to all those digital conferences. I go, holy crap. All these companies at these digital conferences, they want to eat traditional media's lunch. I can never get my bosses to come along. Nah, I'm going to go to a newspaper conference. I'm going to go to a radio or a TV conference. What are you going to learn there? Nothing. You got to go and spend your money and spend a couple of days in a conference with your enemies, the people that want to kill you and eat you and take all of your money. You kind of missed out on that, didn't you? Yeah, it's not just Craigslist with classifieds. What are you doing? What are you doing? Hyperlocal is really your blessing in disguise. Hyperlocal is where you should put all your focus. People don't care about a big, giant footprint. You got to figure out what's that perfect size of news coverage. You got to stop focusing on all that national stuff that 1,000 different websites and pundits are focused on. What do you think? You're going to do it better? You're not. Believe me. Cover the local stuff. Stupid. A lot of it's easier to cover, too. You don't have to go to every school board meeting or council meeting anymore because they're streaming it live. Duh. Stupid. I can't believe it. And that's where all the action is at some of these local municipal meetings. It's like could be a reality show. It really, some of it's so ridiculous. You know the best part about these local municipal meetings, which you should be covering as a hyper-local pioneer? They forget they're on camera. They forget they're being videotaped and live streamed. They say stuff that's totally ridiculous and unethical and all that stuff. It's all kinds of wonderful things that can happen when you're watching. From the comfort of your own home, a live-streamed municipal meeting, planning board meeting, council meeting, school board meeting, whatever. I don't see, at least around here in the Atlantic City area, I don't see them taking advantage of that great content. You don't got to send out a cameraman anymore, a camera crew, you can't. It's already done by the municipality, you big dummy. I got 3 words for you. Alden Global Capital. I want to light a fire under your ass. Anyway, so let's go down here. Let's see. A lot of it's tough to discern the layout, because it's new and it's fresh. But some of this stuff, I'm not sure if it's local content or it's sponsored content or the nonsense you see on every other website, Another ad, latest video. So they do video. I think Joe Martucci is the weather guy. He does a great job of being a personality and doing webcasts and all that stuff. So he does a good job with that, a very good job. And here's podcasting. Like I said earlier, Atlantic City tried to do the webcasting thing, video webcasting, but they built a set from like 1975. A set where you sit on that one, you sit on that side, you sit on that side, have a mic stand in front of both of you. Like a cornball 1975 news set. Like, what are you doing? It's the internet. It just was bad. Who was helping them? Nobody. They knew it all. Anyway, let's go over here. Here's some podcasts. I go, hey, that's pretty cool. Press of Atlantic City and Lee Enterprises doing some podcasting. But this particular show called Utterly Moderate, this is all produced from Lee Enterprises, the parent company. It's not localized. Maybe this is just filler content for the time being. It's better to have something here. But do we need another political podcast? Although they do a pretty good job laying it out with the player here. This player looks very familiar. Let me load this.
Please listen carefully. Yeah, it's like a tiramisu of horribleness.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's coming through, so that's why I'm not going to play a lot. But nonetheless, the layout, the technology, it's perfect. But don't think that people are going to listen to a podcast from outside the market, because I listen to podcasts all the time, and the big ones have broken through, and they take up a majority of my attention, like Joe Rogan, Tim Pool, Salty Cracker, all kinds of crazy stuff. Michael Malice, Lex Friedman. It's interesting. A lot of the most popular podcasts and webcasts, a podcast primarily being audio only, or a webcast with a live visual of the two people speaking or the one person speaking. It's interesting that I believe most of the most popular podcasts are moderate, slightly left of center hosts. That's what it seems like. That'd be the Tim Pools of the world, Joe Rogans of the world. Yeah. I can tell you one thing, editorially, if local newspapers continue to beat that dead horse, we're going after Joe Rogan. Stupid. Knock yourself out. You're opening up the space for hyper local podcasts. Stuff that I do. Don't blow it. Press of Atlantic City, Lee Enterprises, come on. Now, you know that our good friends over there at Alden Global Capital, the private equity firm, buying up these newspapers, these distressed properties. Yeah, some call them vulture investors, but you have a choice. They can come in, bail you out, get rid of some of the, things that are 100% essential, and save your ass. Yeah. Alden Global Capital. They have their sights on Lee Enterprises, the Lee newspaper group. But, enough of this nonsense. Okay, so you got podcasting here, which is cool. And is it a moderate podcast? Do we need another national podcast? Atlantic City, Press of Atlantic City needs to have a podcast or a webcast focused on poking at local Atlantic City government and crime and a horrendously poor educational system, or the casino scene. If I want to hear about casino information, I don't go to the Press of Atlantic City. I go to a local podcast called Due for a Win. They're not under the constraints of a newspaper who have these outdated modes of, here's how you do it. You know what I'm saying? But then when I go back to the Press of Atlantic City podcast page, in this particular one, the utterly moderate podcast, beating that drum, America, democracy is under attack. You got to stop being so partisan on both sides. Come back to the middle. Have some wackos on both sides in the mix. The Press of Atlantic City they forgot. They forgot about the local thing. Stupid. Yeah. Anyway. I'm kind of liking the white on black, but it is difficult to read, and maybe I'll change my mind. But let's see here. I'm still trying to figure out how to run all this stuff. This is the kind of stuff I've been doing this now, a series of 3 sites in the Atlantic City area. Hyper-local sites, one of them being downbeachbuzz.com, focusing on Margate, Ventnor, and Longport. Those are the 3 towns just south of Atlantic City, along the South Jersey shore. I also run a website, a blog, a hyper-local site, and news and information site called AC Primetime, acprimetime.com. And I started doing all this stuff back in 2011, I think, about 10 years now, as Hurricane Sandy was about to hit Atlantic City and Brigantine, New Jersey. And at that time I was teaching and consulting, I think for Tribune at that time. And instead of trying to talk my way through explaining to the sales reps, what's this ad look like? What do you do with it? What are the other characteristics? Where do you place it? PowerPoint doesn't really get the job done. So I go, why don't I create a fake website using WordPress, and we could use it as a test site. Okay, we're going to put this unit here, that unit there, for training purposes. That worked out pretty cool. I learned WordPress at the same time. Then the Hurricane Sandy hit, and I go, hey, maybe newspapers won't be delivered because we're all flooded out. Maybe radio stations will get knocked off the air. That happened. So what I did with brigantinenow.com, it's a town just north of Atlantic City, I said, I think I can aggregate news and pictures and video from Twitter and other sources. And I'm going to make Brigantine Now be the repository, the aggregator of all this stuff. I built up a massive database, email database, and subscriber base that way. Then I got picked up by a national site, a Daily Kos. I'm not even sure if people even read that anymore, Daily KOS or something like that. I forget. But all of a sudden, the page views went through the roof, and I made sure I captured everybody's email address, too. So that's how it started. I've been doing this for 10 years, all WordPress-based. I do a majority of the technology and the updates and changing domains and email and servers and all that. It's interesting how much I've learned. Started out with a cheap web hosting service. I don't know, was it HostGator and then GoDaddy? Then I worked my way up to WP Engine. And I forget the other. But now I'm all in the cloud because I need flexibility. And I cut my costs in half. My hosting costs. Because I manage about 30 websites, in addition to these 3 hyperlocal news and information sites. And we do a lot of multimedia. As you can see here, this is a public comment of a municipal meeting in Margate. Margate leadership under attack, facing the ire of local businesses and local residents. Margate dug up the streets in one particular neighborhood of Margate, and the contractor dug too deep, and it disturbed all the sand in Margate, and it cracked a bunch of foundations with homes right next to this construction happening, digging up the streets.
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
We got nowhere because we were shut down because of this. Because it says in there that you guys and the engineering company.
So I believe the city's being sued. I think this particular resident has about $600,000, $700,000 worth of damage. Her house has to be knocked down. It's been a year that she's waiting. Imagine that. This is the kind of content that you have to do as a hyper-local news site. But nobody really covered it as much as we are because don't want to upset the mayor. Do a lot of pictures. A lot more video. We actually went into the person's home that had a cracked foundation. The house kind of buckled because of all the digging underneath their house. Like a big giant sinkhole happened. The water table rose, disrupting the soil underneath the house. Poor engineering, poor plans, I don't know. So
close the
had
door.
some video
Yeah,
that
look all around
can't
my
even
room.
close the
Yeah,
doors,
yeah,
the
yeah,
interior
my
doors
roof
in the
is-
house.
Look, it's all
Everything
cracked.
got mangled. We poke fun at the leadership of the city of Margate because you should. Down here, too many news properties kiss the ass of local leaders. It's like they're PR flacks. They're like stenographers for the local commissioners and mayors and all that. It really does happen. And that's the big opportunity for independent, hyper-local news sites. Because down here along the shore, 75% of the homeowners don't live here full-time. That means they don't vote down here. It's a very interesting phenomena down here along the Jersey Shore. Big-time money. Everyone's flocking to buy a home or to build a new home along the Jersey Shore. And a very small percentage of those taxpayers actually cast a vote for who's going to run the city and who's going to whack up the money and spend it here and spend it there. It's crazy. And when I moved down here many years ago and learned about this thing called WordPress, I go, I bet I could create an online newspaper or a news source, and I could do it making sure that the second homeowners were my top priority. Because the local newspapers were really focused on protecting the inner circle, that small group of people that were full-timers. Good people, but they're all voting for the same people. There's no, alternative viewpoints. We embed PDFs of the engineering report for this poor woman who had her house mangled by some kind of crazy construction project along the street where she lived. This is what newspapers used to do, right? Watchdog journalism. Very few do that right now. Anyway, I think that's enough for right now. But go to downbeachbuzz.com and you get to see all the stuff that we're working on. We think while people who speak and prognosticate and teach about the internet and digital marketing, they're smart. They share some great knowledge, but I'm kind of thinking, I got 10 years of actually executing on these ideas. I got the battle scars to prove or disprove some of these tactics, these new business models for hyper-local news and information. Capture a lot of emails. So that's what you can do there. We have 45,000 readers. That's a conservative number every single month, unique users. And try to keep up to date with the event. But like I said, we're focused on taxpayers, not just the local folks. Once again, the taxpayers, 75% of them are second homeowners. They have a big, giant, beautiful home along the shore, but they live somewhere else, whether it's in New York or Cherry Hill or Philadelphia or King of Prussia. Okay? All right, guys. Another test in the can on February 13, 2022. Oh, yeah, you might as well just get reminded again. Go to getsmartdigital.com. I want to do my best to update this more. I spent all of my time figuring out all this new software and managing all those sites. But I want to share everything I've learned over the past 10 years. I've learned a lot. I went down a lot of dark alleys, too. I have failed often, a lot. Very costly. Waste a lot of time, but you got to fail a lot. You got to know what not to do. Eventually you'll come across something that, hey, I think I'm on the right track. But I can assure you the stuff that we're going to be talking about at getsmartdigital.com, I've been testing it for the past 10 years. A lot of the stuff that the big players are using, too expensive, too much overhead, too big of a footprint in who they're trying to attract, or they're trying to replicate what's already being done nationally. It's almost like they got to come out of their bubble and see what the real competitive environment is. And at the end of the day, they're going to go, oh, crap, I didn't realize. It's about hyper-local. Duh. Stupid. Okay, my name is Mel Taylor. from getsmartdigital.com. February 13, 2022, hyperlocal news and information, marketing and strategy.